Klytemnestra, have a care, girl. Your spindle's gone all a-wobble. Clytemnestra's eyes snapped into focus at the sound of her name. In front of her, the spindle bobbed, her carefully spun wool unravelling quickly. She stopped it with her hand. Not like you, Nestra, tutted Thekla, turning back to her work. The crease in her nurse's brow lingered, but at least she had returned to calling her Nestra. Clytemnestra had never really liked her full name. It was too big, too cumbersome, but she liked it even less on a sharp tongue. It was her sister, Helen, who had taken to calling her Nestra when she was too young to manage the whole thing, and it had stuck ever since. Helen was sitting beside her now. They'd been working wool together all afternoon, and Clytemnestra's arm was beginning to ache from holding up the distaff. Her sister was singing a song to herself as she watched her spindle twirl on its thread. And though Helen had a sweet voice, she only knew half the words and kept repeating the same verse. Clytemnestra wished she would stop. The women's room was dim, the walls plain, the air thick and still. As one of the innermost rooms of the palace, it had no windows through which daylight might spill, nor any fresh breeze to break the stagnation. It was summer, and the warm air was made warmer still by the many women who filled the room, lamps and torches illuminating their dark heads and their white working hands. Clytemnestra's woolen dress clung to the sweat of her back as she looked over her shoulder towards the brightest corner of the room. There stood the looms, 3 large wooden frames with half-finished cloth stretched across them. Only 2 were being worked at present by the most skilled of the household slaves. Admiring and envious, Clytemnestra watched as they led the shuttles back and forth, building their clever patterns thread by thread. It was like watching a mesmerising dance or the playing of a complex instrument. You know, came Thekla's voice, we could start you on loom work soon. Really? Asked Clytemnestra, pulling her eyes from the dancing hands. You're 11 now. In a few years you'll be married, and what kind of wife will you be if you don't know how to weave? I would like that very much, she replied with a grateful nod. Working the loom certainly looked more interesting than spinning. Helen stopped her singing. Can I do weaving too? Clytemnestra rolled her eyes. Helen always wanted to do what she was doing, even though she was 2 years younger. She hadn't shown the slightest interest in the loom before now. I think you're still a little young, Mistress Helen. You'll get your chance soon enough, though. Helen made her face into an exaggerated pout and turned emphatically back to her spinning. Clytemnestra knew she would soon forget she was supposed to be sulking, though, and sure enough, her face smoothed as her attention became absorbed once more by the motion of her spindle. The 3 of them continued working for a little while, until Thekla said, I think that's enough work for one day. Why don't you girls go and find some food? Clytemnestra stopped her spinning. Can't we go and play outside for a little while before supper? It's not dark yet. I can't stand being indoors all day. Oh, yes, can we? Piped Helen. Thekla hesitated. I suppose so, she sighed. But you must take a slave with you, so that you're not alone. But we'll be with each other, Clytemnestra protested. It's no fun when there's someone watching. She gave Thekla a pleading look, but the nurse's face was unwavering. Fine, she said with an indignant huff. We'll take Agatha. The girl was between her and Helen in age, and a better playmate than any of the sour-faced escorts Thekla might have chosen for them. The nurse looked unconvinced, but she nodded her assent. Agatha, we're going to play outside. Come with us, Clytemnestra called across the room before Thekla could change her mind. The slave girl shuffled over to them, head bowed, while Clytemnestra took Helen's hand and headed for the door. The 3 of them were already halfway down the corridor when Thekla called after them. Keep close to the palace! And don't stay out too long, or you'll be brown as goat herds. And who will marry you then?